This is the conclusion of Part 3, the story of the scroll, the reversal. The exterior struggle has been decided in substance. The end of the haters of the Jehudim comes in a struggle. The forces of development are compelled to measure themselves with the strength of the wellspring of life. They get, to all intents and purposes, their chance of showing their worth. In fact, if they actually possessed that strength, they might be able to come out triumphant. As a matter of fact, the strife remains undecided unto the very end. But the forces of development prove to be powerless in the month of Adar, the last month. If in the month of Nisan, the first month this fasting takes place, this doing away with all things leavened. If this takes place in the heart of hearts, then the forces of development do not stand a chance in the phenomenal appearance in the exterior. Acting gratuitously is decisive because it is divine. It is that which saves, that which preserves the world. It is the secret of Purim. For the sake of Purim, the month of Adar is used for adapting the lunar year to the solar year. What happens at Purim implies this adapting. That is why Adar is indicated as February, and Purim in such a case always falls in the 13th month, just as the real Purim similarly is in the 13th month. Outwardly, there seems to be strife between Amalek and the Ivri. This is in accordance with the law of nature. This is also implied in the letter of Ahasuerus with the verdict that there should be strife and killing. But in substance, this strife has been decided in the actions of the first month, in the withdrawal from the speed of development, in the attitude of Esther, who acts against the law of Ahasuerus, with that desperate resignation of, if I perish, 4:16. Exteriorly, the law of nature, the law of development, points to downfall, to the disappearance of the Jehudim, such as the letter of Ahasuerus as drafted by Haman. But the substance of natural law points to the very opposite, and such is the letter sent by Ahasuerus after the point midway, the letter drafted by Mordecai and Esther. In essence, it is Amalek that loses, and this has already been decided in the month of Nisan. There is a trial of strength, but the only thing possible is that Amalek is abolished, and that is bewildering, overwhelming, subversive to those that live in exile, those that live exteriorly. The Triumph of Secrecy. The story of Esther shows the seal of the Absolute. That is why it is styled, written with the Ruach HaKodesh. It tells us how all that takes place in the multiplicity of transient time is viewed from essential reality. At the same time, it tells us what this permanent pattern is, which is woven on the warp of events in the world of time. Simultaneously, however, it is woven into the life of every individual. It is only in the exterior appearance of the exile that man and the world are divided. Beyond the exile, man fills the entire universe. This strife between Amalek and the Jehudi is the structure of cosmic history, as God reveals it, and at the same time, it is a pattern of man's acting and thinking. Thus, man faces all that comes to him at this meal, which we call life. Who knows but that the story of Esther does not unfold itself within him in what, in our awareness of time, we call the flash of a second? Who knows but that it does not repeat itself thousands of times in his life? And who knows but that it does not remain buried, overgrown with that which is Amalek? An unexpected reaction, a breakthrough of some unexpected acting for nothing gratuitously can be the consequence of a complete drama of Esther in the individual, a drama enacting itself within a second. But how infinitely complete cannot such a second be, when experienced and understood from the viewpoint of the eternal? If only we were able to analyze such a second, as we sometimes endeavor to analyze the infinitely small in space. Who knows but that we should not get an overwhelmingly splendid structure? In the case that they would not be called electrons, protons, or neutrons forming the structure, but maybe the names then would be Ahasuerus, Vashti, Mordecai, Esther. And the chances are that the structure would be that of the Scroll of Esther. As according to tradition, the scroll was written with the Ruach HaKodesh. It is quite likely to be the case. Thus, man lives in this exterior world, in this our perceptibility. That is why Esther, that Nistar, decides that this story of Esther shall retain its effect through all the generations, throughout time. And this again is expressed in the fact that in Jewish tradition, the story of Esther is read ever again, reread 1,000 times in every Adar. It is the triumph of secrecy of the minute of the suppressed, the triumph which may refer to relationship with divinity. It also is the revelation which proclaims that the Ivri shall not go down, however much things seem to indicate his downfall. It is the revelation of the mystery of the reversal. When somebody thinks that the Ivri is lost, when even the Ivri himself thinks so, then the great revolution, the huge, non-expected world revolution will come, changing things to such an extent as to make people feel inebriate. It is beyond people's comprehension. It is this knowledge about the treasure of Esther which impresses the smile of, and yet everything will come right, on the mind of the Yehudai in this extremely harsh and chilly exile. It is the triumph of man over his destiny, whatever it may be, the triumph even over death. He lives facing death with that smile of, and yet it will be quite different, yet it will all come right, for at my birth the story of Esther was imprinted on my mind. When I was sent into this exile, I was also given the story of Esther. It is not development in endless space, in all-devouring time. It is not getting lost in the harsh chilliness of thousands or even millions of years. It is not a triumphant Amalek, but a Mordecai that takes us back home where we shall feel warm and safe. That is what allows man to live here, this secret within himself, this Esther that is in him too. We have now come to the end of this book, and again I realize that much has not been mentioned. How little is that which is written down here in comparison with what might have been written down, and how insignificant as compared to what could only be spoken from mouth to ear, and that which can only be felt or surmised from all this. All this within the compass of the short story of Esther with its 167 verses. Is it a coincidence that the Torah Pentateuch, with its 5,845 verses, has exactly 35 times the compass of the story of Esther? The 35 words in which the seventh day in the tale of creation is written, the 3.5 as factor of biblical cosmic times, 350 as concept of dust matter. Who is it that yet dares speak of coincidence without feeling the thrill of another world? If one has tasted ever so little of the mystery in the story of Esther, from what little could be told here, one is aware of the first steps in a new land. That land is waiting. It has been waiting such a long time. It cannot, however, be entered until after the revolution, after the Megillah reversal, when Haman has been hanged.